This edition of Monocle on Saturday was first broadcast on the 20th of September 2025. Hello, I'm Georgina Godwin, broadcasting to you live from Midori House in London. This is Monocle on Saturday. Coming up on today's programme, we'll have a look through the week's news and culture with journalist and Monocle Radio regular politics commentator Vincent McAviney. Then,
I love good wine, good food, playful things with lots of intensity. Those are nice, but actually in my days off, on my weekends, we come actually here with my family to Tampere Market.
Monocle's Petri Burtsoff speaks to the head chef of a Michelin Guide restaurant about a treasured local delicacy. And finally, we head to Zürich, where Monocle's autumn market has just begun at Dufferstrasse 90. That's all ahead here on Monocle on Saturday. First, though, here's the news. 3 Russian military jets violated NATO member Estonia's airspace for 12 minutes on Friday in an unprecedentedly brazen incursion, its government said, the latest in a series of recent military actions by Russia that have rattled the alliance. Russia denies the incursion. Meanwhile, Polish and Allied aircraft were deployed early today to ensure the safety of Polish airspace after Russia launched airstrikes targeting western Ukraine near the border with Poland. The Trump administration said on Friday it would ask companies to pay $100,000 per year for H-1B worker visas, potentially dealing a big blow to the technology sector that relies heavily on skilled workers from India and China. The move could add millions of dollars in costs for companies, which could hit smaller tech firms and startups particularly hard. And US Senator Ted Cruz, the Republican who leads oversight of the Federal Communications Commission, joined Democrats on Friday in criticising FCC Chair Brendan Carr's recent threats against Disney and local broadcasters for airing Jimmy Kimmel live. Trump has doubled down on the action, saying that some TV networks should have their licences taken away. And that's your Monocle Radio News. Hello and welcome to Monocle on Saturday. I'm Georgina Godwin and I'm joined in the studio by Vincent McAviney, a journalist and a Monocle Radio regular politics commentator. I'd love him to say hello to you, but his mouth seems to be completely full of a bun from our Monocle cafe. When you finish your mouthful, Vinny?
Yeah, all done. It's the cinnamon bun. There is cinnamon and cardamom. They're both excellent, but I was in a cinnamon mood this morning.
What constitutes a cinnamon mood?
Autumn. Essentially, it's sort of it was really warm randomly here in London yesterday, but it's now cooled down a bit. There's lots of crunchy leaves to step on as you walk to where you're going today. And it's a bit of grey skies. Yeah,
well, lots of people going, are you ready for the fall? And it takes me a while to realise they're talking about autumn and not
the West.
Impending.
Are you hoarding stockpiles of batteries and fresh water?
Exactly. But seriously, what do you do? How do you prepare? How do you future-proof when you have no idea what's coming? I was trying to do I'm on the board of a charity and we were trying to, a human rights charity, English Pen, and we were trying to do our business plan for 3 years. And it's like, what will the world look like in 3 years' time?
Yeah, I think it's so hard for organisations at the moment all around. I mean, I know, for instance, that some organisations here in the UK have started drafting plans for if a reform government came in, contingencies and protections that they can put in place. But it is so hard. And I think we're seeing that in the markets. There's a lot of sort of unease, with particularly if you look at government bonds at the moment as to where it's going to go. We know that in the last Trump term, he sort of coasted along for the first sort of, 3 years without major international incident. But then the pandemic hit and he was an absolute disaster in that, by all means, apart from, Operation Warp Speed on the vaccines. He sort of mishandled the whole thing. So if something like that happens again, I think leading to our next conversation about what's been happening in Estonia, if something really significant happened, it just upsets, like the invasion of Ukraine did when we thought we were just getting out of the pandemic. It can completely upset and throw everything out the window.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk about what happened in Estonian airspace. As we were hearing in our headlines there, NATO's intercepted Russian fighter jets on this reckless violation of the airspace. It took place over 12 minutes. Russia denies that it happened at all.
Yeah, but I mean, they're saying that they were over international waters. They clearly weren't. Their aircraft were knowingly doing this. So these MiG-31 fighters had their transponders turned off, which is quite dangerous for civil aviation. They incurred for 12 minutes, which is a significant amount of time in Estonia's airspace. Estonia is not a large country. So within 12 minutes in these kind of fighters, you can sort of penetrate its airspace pretty deeply. There was a response from NATO jets, Italian NATO jets that were stationed there that escorted them out. But now Estonia has triggered Article 4 of NATO to start consultations with the alliance on what this means. This is a repeated pattern. This is the third such incursion into NATO airspace in the last fortnight. Estonia has suffered this kind of thing before, but they haven't had one as sort of comprehensive as this since the early 2000s. And for many people, Estonia is somewhere I visited. It's a fascinating place, beautiful Tallinn, a really beautiful little city. But they well remember what it was like to live under the USSR, to live under the Soviets' oppression. And they are a really key player in NATO. They are leaders on cyber defense because they have had decades of cyber attack from Russia, and they've, learned well how to protect themselves. But this is the problem with Putin, it is constant mission creep. He is like the raptor in Jurassic Park, just constantly testing the fences, seeing what the response is and coming up with a plan and using what he sees to formulate. And it is really serious. There's a book I read this year, which I would recommend to anyone, actually. It's by a German academic called Carlo Massala, and it's called If Russia Wins, a Scenario. And it literally starts about 18 months, 2 years from where we are now. It's very current. It was written and published this year. And it starts with an invasion of a small town in Estonia where there are some Russian speakers, with Russia claiming that it, as it did in Ukraine back in all the way in 2014, that it's there to protect those Russian speakers. If you applied the same logic to the UK, well, we could invade many countries that speak English, Australia, India, wherever, the United States, simply if that's the game that you're going to play. But this is really serious, and I think it needs a pretty substantial response from NATO to take him, for him to take it seriously. Because yes, Poland shot down drones, and of course that's a different calculation. There aren't humans in those, but if they're going to continue to do this, and they're knowingly in this airspace, is it either Putin trying to provoke into some kind of wider conflict, but could they really handle that at the moment, or is there some other way to sort of deter them that isn't sort of lethal? And this is the playbook that China has in Taiwan as well, is that they're constantly buzzing Taiwanese airspace, and part of that strategy was to wear down the resilience of the Air Force, because every time you send planes up, they then require maintenance. When they come down, it costs to send them up. You sort of drain the resources out of the Air Force because of having to constantly react to this, to the point where Taiwan, I think, started to just not react to these buzzings because it was doing sort of damage to their fleet of aircraft, and they didn't want to give away intelligence on how they would respond.
Mm-hmm. You talk about Putin's kind of mission creep and authoritarianism, and we are seeing creeping authoritarianism elsewhere too. And here I'm speaking about freedom of the press, freedom of expression, and this is what's just happened in the US. Now, I would just first like to talk about Senator Ted Cruz, because he's a Republican.
Not a man known for having a spine as well.
Exactly. So as we know, Jimmy Kimmel has been taken off air, and we'll give you the details more on that in a moment. But what Cruz said was that this was dangerous as hell. He said it's something right out of Goodfellas. He was referring to Martin Scorsese's iconic gangster movie. He said, that's right out of a mafioso coming into a bar going, nice bar you have here. It would be a shame if something happened to it. I mean, that is extraordinary that a Republican is basically saying Trump is blackmailing the lot of you.
Yeah. And there are so many layers to this. The first layer, of course, is free speech. And I think it's interesting that it shows what a five-alarm fire, as Americans like to say this is, that Barack Obama, who, apart from elections, I feel sometimes has been a little bit too quiet in not calling out how unnormal things are becoming. He's been very active, and he linked to a great piece by David French in the New York Times, an opinion piece called Charlie Kirk, Jimmy Kimmel, and the Future of Free Speech in America, which is well worth a read. But on the front layer, you've got the free speech angle, and Donald Trump likes to crack jokes, but he is humorless, and particularly about himself. And this is so signaled. He took down Stephen Colbert because they pressurized the corporates behind CBS, Paramount, Skydance, this merger that was going on. His condition, seemingly, for putting it through was to take Stephen Colbert, who had the #1 show. It's a show that I've been to the recording of. It is a fantastic thing. You can go for free in New York. It's right off Broadway. Not only is it get the highest ratings on a slot that, yes, is diminishing because there is less of an audience and you're battling with streamers, but decent enough ratings. They claim that it wasn't making enough money. His clips go huge on social media every day. He has fantastic guests in. That has already gone. And Trump actively said that he was going after Kimmel next. And lo and behold, they have sought this opportunity for a very innocuous little joke of him pointing out the truth, that the sort of Republican online ecosystem, your Megyn Kellys, your Candace Owens, have spent no time really grieving and more time using it for clicks and online traction and clout and trying to frame the attacker as being something, a far leftist, a sort of trans ideologist or whatever it is. And he called this out and played a clip of Trump being asked directly, how are you feeling about Charlie Kirk's death? To which he just says, have you seen the diggers? They're building my new ballroom like a little child.
Quite extraordinary.
It's quite extraordinary. But, behind all of this, again, with Disney, is that they are trying to do another corporate merger with their sports team, ESPN, buying NFL rights. And so that is why Disney is cowed. It is the problem. And then the local distributor, Nexstar, is also the who pulled the show initially, which then pressured Disney. They are also trying to do a corporate merger. This is the problem with these large media conglomerates and how big these monopolies have gotten.
Well, so the other late night talk show hosts have been reacting. So Stephen Colbert, Jon Stewart, Seth Meyers, Jimmy Fallon, we'll hear from all of them in a moment. Stephen Colbert began his late night monologue by saying, "We are all Jimmy Kimmel." This is more of what he and other late night hosts had to say.
Yesterday, after threats from Trump's FCC chair, ABC yanked Kimmel off the air indefinitely. That is blatant censorship.
My name is Jon Stewart, and welcome to The Daily Show. We have another fun, hilarious, administration-compliant show. We're coming to you tonight from a real shithole. Someone's National Guard should invade this place, am I right?
I just want to say before we get started here that I've always admired and respected Mr. Trump. I've always believed he was, a visionary, innovator, a great president, an even better golfer. And if you've ever seen me say anything negative about him, that's just AI.
A lot of people are worried that we won't keep saying what we want to say or that we'll be censored. But I'm going to cover the president's trip to the UK just like I normally would.
I mean, it is quite extraordinary, and you're seeing this fight back, and the fact that Cruz is joining in now is really quite significant.
That is significant because we are seeing some division in the Republican ranks of people who have been quite spineless and cowardly. Even, Marjorie Taylor Greene is now sort of broken with Trump on the Epstein files, for instance, and Ted Cruz breaking on this censorship is, I think, quite significant because it shows that the hold that Trump has been exercising over the Republican Party since he got in, this sort of iron grip, is potentially weakening, in part, I think, because there's been a lot of incidents where Republican congressmen and senators have been confronted by constituents who've been saying about the impact the tariffs are having them, finally realizing that it's them that pay for these tariffs. And so that is sort of scaring them. But I think this is a level where, censorship, America has been a beacon of free speech around the world. And the things that it criticizes countries like China on, for instance, and others, is this issue of free speech. And it is so fundamental. There's no gray area on this in the Constitution. You can't incite, violence or criminality or call a fire in a crowded theatre, but you can make jokes, and that is the heart of a healthy democracy.
Absolutely. Well, one person who calls this out time and time again, who has been documenting everything that Trump is doing, is Michael Wolff, the US commentator and journalist. And he came into the studio this week. I recorded an interview with him, which is going to go out tomorrow on Meet the Writers, where he talks about, he's now written 4 books about Trump, all the various iterations of Trump, if you like. like. And he's very forthright about this and talking about power and the media and all the rest of it. So that's coming out on Meet the Writers tomorrow. I think it is at noon London time. And just a heads up for something that I'm about to do, actually. Olivia Norek is about to come into the studio today, in fact. And we are going to be talking about... So he's a very, very popular French crime writer. Huge sales and all the rest of it. Used to be a policeman, interestingly enough. But he has written this book called The Winter Warriors. And it's about the conflict between November 1939 and March 1940, where Finland almost fought off an ill-planned Soviet invasion. It's about a sniper who was really good there. But just really kind of lauding the fact that Finland is such a kind of brave, small and brave place, and how, going back to Estonia, how very much it's on the front line there. Anyway, speaking of Finland, few cities are as synonymous with a single dish as Finland's second city, Tampere. And it is a thing called a mustamakara. I think I've said that right. It's in fact a much-loved black sausage, apparently, found in market squares and halls across town. With a history stretching back to the 19th century, this age-old blood sausage has long been a local staple. It's still enjoyed daily by many residents. Well, we sent our Helsinki correspondent, Petri Burtsoff, north from the capital to uncover the origins of the dish and to find out why it continues to hold such a firm place in Tampere's heart.
Finland's second city, Tampere, is known as a vibrant business hub, the country's unofficial sauna capital, and home to its biggest amusement park. But for most Finns, the name Tampere sparks just one culinary association: its famed black sausage, or mustamakkara, as the locals call it. This hearty regional specialty dates back to the 19th century, when market vendors served steaming coils of the blood sausage from great iron pots to the city's manual laborers. To explore the enduring appeal of mustamakkara and to uncover its roots, I made my way to Tammela Market Square in the heart of Tampere, a place many consider the spiritual home of the dish, and where locals still queue daily for their fix. My guide was chef Marko Simunaniemi, who runs Kajo, the city's Michelin Guide-listed dining spot. He began by telling me what makes a truly great black sausage and why this square remains the beating heart of Tampere's most beloved bite.
Hei, me voitais ottaa pari menopaluuta, kiitos. Ja syödään tässä, kiitos. Ja sitten 2 tommoista 02 maitoa. The moist texture is really important part of it, and of course you have to have enough of the rye, so you get these like bitter and aromatic notes into it. This is of course splitting it kind of like in the small details, but well, that's where the beauty comes from. And like if you have a sausage that has been drying out somewhere and you don't anymore have the texture, and then you have kind of loosened the flavor already, that's a no-go. You need to have it fresh and straight from the womb. And this Tammela, the area where we are at the moment of Tampere, this is actually where they started the first time selling the black sausage, mustamakkara. So therefore it has a really important spot as well. But of course nowadays here is this beautiful marketplace, one of the most classic and best and for me for sure the best marketplace in the whole city. So yeah, I think this is the place to have it, and this is as we can see many other people think so too.
Next it was time to taste this Tampere classic and to eat it the way the locals have for generations.
We have 2 beautiful portions of black sausage along with lingonberry jam and cartons of milk. I suppose this is the traditional way of having it.
Yeah, and for many people the only way. Some people like it without the lingonberry jam, but I think those are just people who don't fancy lingonberry that much. But
and that's also how in all the surrounding tables people seem to be having them. So this is the authentic way. It seems okay. I need to taste this. This looks amazing.
Oh wow! It's a very soft sausage. It's not when people think of a sausage, if they think of like, you know, bratwurst, things like that. This is completely different consistency. Very soft and fresh and warm. But this is, of course, this is not a grilled sausage. But do you know if they make them here at the kiosk, or do they have somewhere else where they make them?
No, they actually they make it. They have this Tapola sausage factory, as we know it, especially here. It's a little bit further down from the city center, where they actually make the sausages. They have this special built oven, which, if I remember correctly, it's like 250, 260 degrees, where they roast it, and they roast it 3 times. And there's like special way of making it, how they make it, and then they just deliver it fresh every morning to the marketplaces. And as we saw when we ordered, they are like in this like warm boxes wrapped around. And that is the important thing about musta makkara, that it needs to be moist, it needs to be soft, because if it dries out, you lose the lots of the flavors and the feeling with.
Simonaniemi may be a fine dining chef, worlds away from the humble street food tradition that musta makkara represents, yet like most Tampere residents, he admits he can't resist the pull of the city's most famous bite.
After service, nothing is better than, for example, a good black sausage and a nice pint of lager. I love like good wine, good food, playful things with lots of intensity. Those are nice. But actually, in my days off, on my weekends, we come actually here with my family to Tampere market, and we eat exactly what we eat.
In Tampere, musta makkara is more than just a snack. It's a source of quiet pride and part of the city's culture. Across Finland and beyond, many regions cling to their signature dishes as emblems of identity, proof that a place can be tasted as well as seen. In an age of ever-changing food fashions, there's something enduringly appealing about the honest, no-frills cooking that this local black sausage represents. It's food that connects people to their roots. For Monocle in Tampere, I'm Petri Burtsov.
Petri, thank you very much indeed. Now, still with me in the studio is Vincent McAviney, who is from Jersey originally, aren't you?
Yeah.
Does Jersey have a national sausage?
It doesn't have a national sausage that I'm aware of. We do have something called a bean crock, which is like a bean stew dish, and that's why Jersey people are known as Jersey beans. You're not Jerseyan or Jersey-ish, you're a Jersey bean. That is the sort of nationale.
How extraordinary. You learn something every single day. Do you have a favourite sausage, though? Yourself?
I'm not a massive sausage fan. I like one where there's a bit of mix through it. So like if there's a bit of apple through it or something like that, that's my... But I'm not really into it. I think part of it... I partially grew up in Luxembourg as well, and there's a lot of like sausagey, bratwursty stuff in there and hot dogs, and I never really was into them.
Okay, well, I'm just a mad fan for boerewors, which we get in Zimbabwe, really good sausage. And I think we can actually join Juliet Linley now, who's at Monocle's Autumn Market, which has just got underway in Zürich at Duferstrasse 90. Juliet, do you have a favourite Swiss sausage?
I'm not a big sausage fan, Georgina. Good morning from the autumn market that feels very much like a summer market all of a sudden today. These are the surprises you get with global warming, especially when you're talking about the alpine nation of Switzerland. But yes, everything is buzzing here, feeling very summery. I'm not a big fan of sausages, but I'm just researching that the Finns would eat their sausage perhaps with lingonberry jam. Petri can let us know if that is correct. But here in Zurich, there is a stand here at the market which is selling Zürich, which would be mustard from Zurich, grown in Zurich by the shores of the river Limmat. Can you believe that, Georgina?
A wonderful thing, and I wish that I was there sampling that, because there's nothing better than a sausage with mustard.
Exactly, right? Better than jam, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, set the scene for us. You're there, it's the autumn market. We know that we're showcasing the new season of style, new collections, lots of regional craftsmanship. Tell us more.
Absolutely. Well, let's just tell you just briefly that Mr. Zürich is actually Chris Henker, and he just started this 2 years ago. He'd worked in luxury hotels before, and now he's launched this very local mustard. So local that you can have your pots, your ceramic pots, recycled by him. He will literally come by, pick up the empty one, give you a discount on your new mustard, and a honey mustard is coming out shortly. But at the same time, we have a lovely studio sediment ceramic stand right in front of our radio stand right here, and they're selling mugs according to the different districts of Zürich. Now, there are 12. They're called Kreis, and Monocle is actually in Kreis 8. And standing here with me is the great Tyler Brûlé, who decided to choose Kreis 8 for his cafe. Why did you choose it, Tyler? Good morning.
Good morning, Juliet. Why did we choose it? Because it was here. This was an empty space. What are we? Yes, we're coming, 7.5 years that we've been here. And this just looked like the right neighborhood. Kreis 8 was perfect. We like Seefeld. Had a bit of a history with this district. And here we are. I'm not sure. This is Herbstmark number what? I have no idea. It's just like the
must be 7.5. No.
Fifth, sixth time we've done it, and what a day for it as well. But I'm sure you've already talked about the weather.
I did. I mean, Tyler's wearing shorts. Georgina
wearing shorts.
Hi, I wish I was there to see it.
Exactly.
Last year he was in lederhosen. That just
exactly. There's no later. I'm saving lederhosen until next week. I'll be heading. I'm heading off to Oktoberfest next Sunday. But don't worry, Desi. I'll be here. We'll be doing radio from here tomorrow. So our producer,
Desiree Bundles was
Desiderium.
Tyler, tell me what else is going on there today.
Well, there seems to be just a general buzz in Zurich. It really does feel like the first day of commerce. We're hurtling to the end of Q3. There's a lot of things on all over the city, but I think most of the action is here. We've got, of course, there's a raclette stand outside. Raclette season, of course.
Now, which one do you choose? Classical, smoked?
Ooh, see, I don't even know what the options are. But
hey,
look at classical.
Just classical.
Just classical.
Yeah,
Georgina?
I think I'm pretty inclined towards classical too.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
No garlic. I mean, who?
No, God, no smoked. Whatever. Forget it.
Yeah.
No.
Never mind. No, and then of course, as you've already been going over the vendors that we have, many returnees, and then also a lot of new faces as well who are here. So I think it is. We're delivering what we're supposed to do at a Herbstmarkt, which is, of course, introducing our readers in the neighborhood and our broader audience to some of the brands they've been familiar with season after season, and of course newness as well.
And so much on there. I was actually really interested to see that there's a second-hand objects and furniture stand, Archivio, I think it's called.
Yes, that would be Antonio and Lilia. I was just talking to them. They're online, Archivio spelled with a Y, but they're also here. So if any of our listeners are anywhere nearby, please come by. They've got objects from the 20s all the way through to the 80s, and they love folk art, art brut. They've really got a mixture. A lot of their clients come from from the US and also mainly from Europe. But yes, they really focus for architects and interior designers. They will source items from markets all over Europe, and they're very, very enthusiastic, and they have an art history background. Aren't they pretty? They're very close to us, and they're very bright and colorful ceramic objects right near us.
And tell me about the wooden toys from Kuburo.
Oh, listen, Kuburo, so classic company. They've been around for a very long time. There used to be a really wonderful toy store in the center of the city called Pastorini Spielzeug, it was called. That then closed, sort of story of our time, pushed out by, of course, higher rents and major international brands. But so Kuburo's, it's not really wooden Lego. Think of it as, of course, classic blocks, Georgina, but you have little grooves which are cut into them, so you can build these sort of elaborate towers and landscapes, cityscapes, and then of course you have this ball bearing or a marble, and then of course the marble can sort of follow the path all the way through. It's actually one of these wonderful things to have just on your office table or something when you ever have a little bit of extra time and want to build your own wooden theme park.
It sounds absolutely fascinating. Now, Tyler, I've been to this event a number of times, and when I'm there, I do find that one thing that's pretty consistent is you often have a new drink for me. You say, this year we're drinking this, and it's some kind of cocktail that you've got a passion for at that time. What is your drink of the year?
Well, the cocktail, our friends from from Zürich are here. Maybe we're gonna have to revisit it because Georgina, it's only 10:30. So I'm on my flat white. I think Juliet is on her 7th or 8th matcha latte already. Come back to us on that one a little bit later. We'll do a bit of sampling.
And Tyler, just before we go, how long are you there for today? People can pop in any time today and get stuck into the cocktails later.
Correct. We run until around 6. This thing never wraps up until about 7 o'clock, and we'll probably drift on a little bit longer. But yeah, everyone is going to be here till 7 o'clock today. So if you are on the other side of the border in Germany or elsewhere, or inbound to Zurich, or even outbound before you take off, we'll be here all day.
Fantastic. Tyler, Juliet, thank you both very much. And that's all we have time for on Monocle on Saturday. Thanks also to my guests Vincent, McAviney, and to Petri Bertsoff, our producer, and our studio engineer Mariella Bevan. And Monocle on Saturday will return at the same time next weekend. I'm Georgina Godwin. Thank you for listening.